Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deepsouth Homestead, back on porch time today. It's hot, guys. It's very hot. We have not been out of the triple digit heat indexes now for a long time. I shot a video on Patreon the other day talking about what I think was wrong with our garden and the temperatures that we've had. This is day number 89 today, since May the 20th, 89 days from that point. Now, not every day, but 89 days from May the 20th. You count the days and you'll see I have recorded in my journal heat indexes over the triple digits. I mean, most have been from 107 to 126 in that area. And today is no different. Today, at 10:30 this morning, the heat index was already 118 at 10:30 this morning, and we can't work in that. There's no way at our age we can get out and do anything. I'm sitting here looking at my peppers. We mentioned that before. We water them every day. They're drooped down, look like they're just dead, sitting there. The leaves are all shriveled up, just hanging straight down. We've lost all of our corn, like I talked about before. All the okra's gone. Everything's just burning up. And guys, I'm struggling. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm struggling in this heat. Wanda and I we're not even considering a garden right now. We have butter peas still growing in the front. That's doing okay. We're picking on them some. Not like what we should be, but we are picking a few off of them here and there. The okra finally all died this about 3 days ago. All the okra finally died from the heat. And there's nothing left. We have peanuts that we need to finish digging. We have sweet potatoes that we need to be digging, but we can't. The heat is so bad we can't get out here in the heat and get it done. So they're just having to sit. So we're struggling with our garden this year. And not only that, we're struggling in lots of areas. I've tried to shoot this video here for 3 solid days. And every time I would try to do it, I couldn't get peace. I can't get peace about what to do today's video on. I mean, we've talked about food shortages. We've talked about the decline of food. We've talked about the solar minimum. We've talked about what's climate change is going on. The grand solar minimum, all these kinds of things. World events. Guys, there's only so much I can say about that stuff. It is what it is. We know it's going to happen. I mean, there's no doubt it's going to happen. It is already happening. The fact that we're dealing with this heat anomaly right now is just another factor. And I looked into the future forecasts. We're talking about another 10 to 15 days of this. We may get a slight break, a little bit, maybe get down to it may get into the 80s, but the high 80s for like 2 days. But when you get a humidity at 99% and the dew point's at like 80%, it don't matter if it's 88 degrees or not. The heat index is still well over 100 degrees. And Wanda and I at our age just can't function in this. And so every time I go to shoot these videos, and I can't get peace about what I need to talk about, I'll tell Wanda, I said, well, take the camera and just go to the cabin, and maybe God will give me something when I get there. And I get here, and I go to sit out here on the porch, and it's so hot that literally I just can't sit here. I have to be where a fan can blow on me or something. And right now, it is, if I could show you my watch, it is 5:25 in the evening. The heat index is 104 degrees right now. At 5:25. Now, this is one of the better evenings. On a positive note, I just got back from the hospital. Wanda and I have 2 twin grandbabies that were born today. We've been at the hospital all day. The babies were good and healthy. The mama seems like she's doing well, which is Wanda's daughter. We have 2 new grandbabies now, twin girls. We're happy about that. We left the hospital where they were at. It was 71 degrees. We drove home. It was 20 degrees hotter when we got here. and the heat index is just out of this world. You know, that's the difference. You know, so we're not only struggling with that, we're struggling with the garden, we're struggling with trying to get a topic for today. You know, we're struggling with the heat. We're struggling with lots of things right now, guys. And you know what? It's not uncommon. In life, we're never promised that things are going to go well for us. As a matter of fact, if you go back and look at the book of Job in the Bible, Job talks about a fire sitting there burning. And if you've ever burned a bonfire at night and you throw a log on it and you see all the embers fly up in the air, Job makes reference to that in the book of Job. He says that man's troubles are as the sparks of a fire that fly upward. In other words, you throw a log into that fire and you see all them embers flying up into the air. Job said that's the way man's troubles are. They're too many to number. They're just lots of them, you know. And that is the way life is for us here. And we have to understand that that's the way life is. I struggle with where I live at here now because of the neighbors I have. Do you hear in the background? There's never peace. We have to listen to these aggravating, barking dogs all the time. We're trying to shoot videos. We just want peace. We just want to be able to sit on the porch and enjoy the environment around us. And this is what we hear constantly. And they seem to think it's the greatest thing in the world. I mean, you know, when you have people like that for neighbors, they destroy the whole neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood talks about it, but there's nobody that will do anything about it. Nobody will say anything. And it just, you know, that's another thing we struggle with here. It's like there's no peace anymore. And I've talked to many of y'all. You've sent me messages and talking about how you deal with the same thing. There's one family in a neighborhood, always just one, that does this kind of stuff. And they ruin it for everybody. You know, those are things like that we struggle with. It's not just me with that. You guys have sent me emails. You've sent me, you know, comments and stuff like that. Personal things. Talking about you're dealing with the same things and asking me, do I know any way to deal with it? You know, and I'm telling you, when you're dealing with people like that, there's not much you can do about it. They just are who they are, you know. And you just have to pray that God will deal with them and not you have to do something. And, you know, when we talk about struggling, we struggle with the fact that we have animals here. And because we've had no rain now for almost a month. And I look back at my grass is all drying up. It's all dying out here. We tried to get hay here a while back. We couldn't get any hay. Well, finally, this company got some hay in. And Wanda and I have been able to get 2 rolls now. That's been about what we could afford to go ahead and get 2 rolls. And we're hoping that they can hang on to it long enough that we can maybe get a few more. Because we looked and there was trucks coming out of there with, you know, rolls on them everywhere. Everybody's getting it. And so we're just praying, you know, that we're going to be able to financially be able to afford to get the hay for our cows. We struggle in that area because we don't want our animals to go hungry this winter. And, you know, we looked at the Farmer's Almanac. We sat down the other day and I pulled up three different channels that deal with weather, extended forecasts, and stuff like that. And the old Farmer's Almanac was the first one I pulled up, and it had us being wetter and warmer than normal here in the south where we live. Now that can be a positive thing and that can be a negative thing. The positive fact is we will be able to continue to, if it cools off and we get out of these 100-degree heat indexes, we'll be able to grow a few things this winter. The negative side of it is that it's going to be continue to be warm, and we're not going to have enough coal to kill off any kind of insects that may be, and we're not going to get the proper freeze time that we need on our apple trees, our peach trees, and all this kind of stuff, which means that next year's fruit harvest will be bad. This year's was horrible. Next year will be even worse for us because it'll be wetter and warmer. All three that I looked at a Farmer's Almanac, MBGC combo. I looked at his, and there was one more. It's just slipping my mind right at the moment. I looked at theirs. It showed basically there's some slight differences, but basically the same thing. And we were really hoping for a little bit cooler temperatures this fall and this winter to be able to stave off some of the insect problems, plus be able to give our trees the proper chill time that they need to bear fruit for next year. And I'm sitting here, we're trying to build a cabin, and when you have temperatures, when you get up in the morning and you walk out the door, my house over there is air conditioned. We leave it set at about 78 degrees, and you open the door to go out of the house, and as soon as you open the door, when when you have something in the oven and you're baking it, and you open the door on the oven and that heat just hits you in the face from like a 350 degree oven, that's what we face every time we walk out the door of our house in the mornings now. When we open the door, it's like that heat just hits you right in the face. And we come over and we try to work on the cabin as much as we can, and we usually make it till around 8, 9 o'clock sometimes. I have made it to 10 if I'm working inside with a fan blowing and a generator running. And then it's just too much. We got to go to the house, and we end up staying inside until, well, like now it's 5:30 in the evening. And we come out, and usually at 5:30 it's still in the triple-digit heat indexes, and we just have to go back in and wait till maybe 30 minutes before dark. We come out and it's dropped down to the high 90s. We're struggling because we can't get our work done. We have sweet potatoes that need harvesting. We can't get them harvested out of the ground. We have peanuts we need to get harvested. We need to get soil amenities done. We need to get lime in some of our gardens. Some of it needs potash. Some of it needs some nitrogen. There's certain things that we need to get done. We can't get any of that done because the ground is like powder. There's absolutely no moisture there. So we're struggling trying to get a fall garden ready. We tried to grow some tomato plants. Total failure on that. Not one seed come up. We had the coated seeds. We had seeds that we saved. We put them out into the ground in a bed. We kept it watered. We tried everything. Not one seed came up. So we ended up going to a place that had a few potted plants, and we ended up picking up, I think it was 12 tomato plants, or maybe 18 of them. I don't really remember. And we tried to set them out strategically in several different places on our place here. Some in the greenhouse, some under some shade cloth at the shop in some pots, some over here by the cabin in some pots. And we're just going to see if maybe we can get a few tomatoes to live, so we can have a few tomatoes. Wanda in her GreenStalk put out a few lettuce plants, I think, and she's got the shade cover over it, and she's got the insect cloths over it, trying to see if we can maybe get some lettuce started. I don't know in this heat whether that's going to happen, so we're struggling trying to get a fall garden started here. It's just not happening right now. And until we get out of these triple-digit heat indexes, I really don't see it happening. And this is part of what I've been trying to talk about on Porch Time, and talking about weather anomalies and how that they are going to affect our ability to grow our food. We're seeing it here at Deepsouth Homestead. We dug a few sweet potatoes the other day, and the few that we dug, even though it's as dry as it is, several of them had already rotted in the ground. They were just like mush. And I don't know what caused it. We're hoping and we're praying that we're able to get some cooler weather at some point and be able to get them dug really fast in one day, so that we can get them all out of the ground and get them cured before it gets to be too late and maybe the rats eat them or they rot underground or whatever. We was truly looking forward to having some popcorn this year, some that we raised, so we have some seed, plus have some to pop. That's not going to happen because out of all the popcorn I planted, there's only a few stalks left that's even green anymore. Most of them have shriveled up and died. For the first time in my life, okra has died because of the heat. That floored me. We had planted okra for the fall. It all got up 4 foot tall. We harvested probably 4 times off of it. It was loaded with okra pods. Come out here in one day, it's all wilting down. It never recovered. It all died. So we're struggling with a fall garden, and this is part of what we're talking about on Porch Time when we talk about it's going to be hard to grow food. We're constantly and frantically trying to figure out what we're going to do for spring. If, you know, we're thinking about doing the plastic with the irrigation system under, with fertilizing it up under the plastic, seeing if that will make a difference, because the U-pickets do that, and they seem to be doing okay out there. Even though their plants don't last that long, I did look at them. They do have disease. You know, when we were picking, they were diseased up, and everything was happening to them just like it happens to us. It's just that they were able to push enough water and fertilize through it to make it happen faster and get enough of a crop to make a difference. So we're going to be trying to get that done. You know, we're struggling here with our health. It's in this kind of heat, we just can't stand it. And a lot of y'all are younger, and I look and I do see the younger people out still going, still working, doing some things. And I can remember back when I was young, it didn't seem like the heat really bothered me that bad. But when you get older like we are, the heat does take its toll on you. And that's one thing that we have to think about when we start talking about food for the future. As we get older and we go into these weather anomalies like we're talking about here, guys, it's going to be a struggle. It's a struggle not only just to grow stuff, it's a struggle financially. Because you go to the stores. Wanda and I went to the store the other day just to look and see what's going on. We needed a couple little staple things there that we can't raise here, or paper products, and we walked down the aisles just to look, and everything is shrunk into small containers now. The price is still up high, but you're not getting near as much in anything. I mean, it seemed like everything that we looked at, we used to buy a long time ago, was just like half the size and twice the price. You know, there's not much more I can say about all that. It is going to happen. I do believe that. It's spoken of in scriptures. So therefore I do believe it. I'm not going to question it. I could continue to talk about it, but I don't know how much good it would do to continue on that path, because it would just seem like I'm sitting here doing nothing but repeating myself. Now, I can talk about when something I know happens. I can talk about that, and I can relate it to one of those issues. But as far as just continuing to harp on something, like there's no food in the stores, there's, you know, they don't have this, they don't have that, the shelves aren't stocked, the aisles are a lot wider. I mean, we can talk about all those kind of things, but the bottom line is it really doesn't fix anything. It may wake us up, but it doesn't fix one thing in the world. The only thing that's going to make a difference is that we actually get out and we try our best to produce something for ourselves, and we try to figure out what we can do to produce food in these type situations. I mean, Wanda and I keep doing YouTube because we want to learn, you know, and when we learn something, we want to put it up. This year has not been the best year for us here at Deepsouth Homestead. Even though we've harvested a lot of food, we've had to put in twice the effort and got half the food. And we have twice the weeds. So it's kind of a difficult situation. It's a struggle. The only thing that I can say right now that has really been a bumper crop for us and has really done good this year has been the butter peas. They're blooming again now. Look like if we could get some rain, they would just Cadillac and probably put on another crop before fall. These peppers that's out here in the bucket, even though they're wilted down right now, looks like they're going to completely die because all the leaves are just in a downward motion. And we water them every day. They just can't take this heat. Today was 118 at one point. I looked, was a heat index. Those plants have produced enough peppers to supply us for an entire year plus more. Even though we went to the U-pick thinking we wasn't going to have any peppers because up front in the spring, nothing would grow here. We grabbed the peppers and the tomatoes and stuff because our tomatoes was a flop this year. We harvested some, but it wasn't any. We wanted to make salsa, so we got onions and peppers and tomatoes and stuff like that from the U-pick so we could make our salsa all at once. These peppers finally, about August, started kicking in. For some strange reason, they started growing, and they have just produced and produced and produced. Every other day, we're picking 2 to 3 gallons of peppers every other day, putting them in the freezer, dehydrating, doing all kinds of things with them. So that and the butter peas has been the 2 things this year so far that's done well. We're going to dig our peanuts up, and if they do okay, then we'll be able to say that the peanuts did good. And we won't know about the sweet potatoes until we've dug them. Now, we know we planted we put out close to 800 draws this year. And we only ended up, we've counted back and what we've got, we only ended up with about 250 to 300 that actually lived. Because the weather just kept killing them. The heat we would get them up and get them going, and the heat would just kill them. We were experimenting with some up here under black plastic to see how they will do. They seem to be doing okay right now. That may be something that we have to do in the future if we're going to have really good sweet potatoes. The peppers in the pots have really worked well this year. We just need to figure out and move them back, maybe get under a little bit more shade. We may have to move them from where they are because they're getting too much sun in this kind of heat. They need a little more shade. I'm thinking they will do a little bit better. Or perhaps we may have to just build a system over them and put shade cloths over them to right where they're at to block the sun off of them. But guys, I know I'm not speaking of just me because you guys have sent me a lot of emails. You've sent me a lot of messages and letters. We get a lot of letters, believe it or not. People like to just sit down and write a letter talking about the struggles that you're facing. And Danny, can I do something? What's going on? Why is this happening to me? Well, guys, over on Patreon, I have a video. I talk about my journal and how I've recorded stuff over the years. And looking back at that journal, I think I kind of figured out why we're having a lot of problems with our gardens. And guys, just to let you know, it's not just you. We're facing the same thing. We're all in this together. This is not something that we're isolated with. This is something that we're all in this together, and we need to all try to figure this thing out together. I don't have a greenhouse. Well, I do have a greenhouse on the back of my shop, but I don't have a huge greenhouse. I don't have one that I can drive a tractor in or anything like that. Mine's relatively small. It's 10 feet wide, 20 feet long, and I can't use it in the summertime because it just gets too hot because it's not climate controlled. I can only let so much air in and so much air out, and it just doesn't work. But I don't have land level enough here because everything we have here is on a hillside. I don't have a place level enough to put in a big open greenhouse, one that's big enough to actually grow a lot of food in. So Wanda and I have to really depend on what's outside. We can grow things under. We have some shade cloths up in some different places, growing some things under the shade cloths, and they're doing. Some does okay, some don't. You got to figure. It's all about figuring out what percentage of shade you need in the shade cloth. We've tried the 80%. It works for some things. We've tried 40%. It works for some things. And guys, it's just a battle. It's a struggle trying to figure out what grows where in this kind of weather. So you're not alone. I just wanted to let you know that. we're facing the same thing. And when we watch us, subscribe to our channel, and I think and hit the notification button so that when we are doing a video, you'll be notified instantly. You'll be subscribed to us. And when we figure out something, we'll definitely put it on YouTube, because we are reading your comments. I'm reading what you all are facing. I'm reading your emails. I'm reading your letters. I'm looking at what your solutions are, where you live at. And I'm trying to implement some of them things into here to see if they will work here. Now, if the Lord's willing and we're able to, next year we'll be doing a little bit of different type and style of gardening to see if it will actually help us to produce more of a quantity of food than we have been this year. Going into this cycles that we're going into with the weather like it is, it's starting to concern me. I've never had failures with crops like I'm having now. I've always had some struggles, but I've never had the kind of struggles that I'm having this year. So stay with us, guys. We're not trying to just harp on any one particular subject, you know. Do I believe there's issues going on? Yes. Today, I saw my first chemtrail in 3 weeks. The skies have been crystal blue, no clouds anywhere. For 3 weeks now, we've just been blistering in this heat. And today, I saw my first chemtrails. And the town where we went, way away from here, for my stepdaughter, Wanda's daughter, to have her twins, it was cloudy and it rained. So I don't know if they're only doing it where it's raining at and they're just doing it above the rain clouds. I don't know. But I know now we have not had any here. So I don't know what to say at this point, guys. It's just come to a point where we're struggling. And I have already told Wanda this. I knew at some point we would reach this point. I just really figured it would be another year or two down the road. I really didn't figure it would be right now. So hang in there with me. Continue to watch us. And let's just see if we can't figure this thing out together. And plus, I got to go get under some AC and see if I can't get cooled off, guys. So, guys, thank you all for watching, and thank you from Deep South Homestead.